Welcome to Papillion UnScripted. I am Michael Severe, the place to go to hear from people who truly help make Papillion feel like home. Special edition, we're calling it Disney 101. We're joined by Nicole Brown, who's the city clerk, and Tony Gowan, of course, parks director. Two people who know Disney and the adventure of going there more than, or better than anybody I know. So we appreciate you guys taking the time.
You bet.
We're going to help people with their vacations. How many Disney type trips have you been on, Nicole?
More than 20.
Oh my. Tony?
Less than that.
We have a problem.
We have a problem.
It's fine.
Either one of you include that with a Disney cruise? Have you been on a cruise before?
We've been on one just a couple months ago.
As fun as going to the actual parks or not?
My 12-year-old will tell you it's more fun.
Really? Disney cruise for you, Tony?
No, I'm a landlubber. I know she's tried to talk me into it as well as my daughter. But I like to get out and stretch my legs. And I know you can do that on the ships because they're huge. But I like to move around a lot more. I like to travel a little bit more through the parks. I think at a point in time we will do a cruise, but it'll be mainly for the granddaughters to go with them.
Let's talk about getting started. When we were deciding to go to Disney in 2020, canceled by COVID, we went to a Disney planner that set everything up for us. How have you done it? How do you normally do it yourself, or do you get a travel agent, Disney planner? How do you do it?
We usually do it ourselves at this point. We've used a couple of different planners. We for sure did when we did the cruise because we'd never cruised before on any cruise line. So we did for that, and we have for a couple of our early trips, but typically we've done it ourselves.
And they planned everything, hotel, tickets, all that stuff?
Yep.
And
Dining
flight even,
reservations.
getting you there?
Yes.
Yeah. What about you? How you do, Tony?
Yeah, I think for the newbies who want to go down, I think it's great to go through a licensed Disney travel agent. I know my daughter is actually a licensed Disney travel agent, and what's good about it is it doesn't cost the traveler any extra money.
Right.
And so they can, like Nicole said, plan it from you getting to Epley to all the way down to getting your shuttle bus from Orlando International over to the parks or to the ship. Very wealth of knowledge with those folks, and like I said, it doesn't cost you anymore. But like Nicole, I'm a planner. We've done it for so long. We actually count it as part of our trip as the planning to the next trip.
Right.
When our trip stops, we're already starting to plan the next one. So we've kind of got it down to a science, what we like, where we like to go, what we like to do. But for those who haven't been down, it would be well worth your time to get with a licensed Disney travel agent.
Before we get into some tips, what's your experience with this? Why Disney? How did you fall in love with it? What's your background with it?
We went, my husband and I just kind of on a whim decided to go there for our honeymoon. I had never
What?
been there. Yep, I know.
Sounds very romantic.
Yeah.
Which one? The Disney World?
World, yes.
Okay.
He had only been there once when he was about 12, I think. I had never gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went. It was exactly 18 years ago this week.
Wow.
And just fell in love with it, and we've been back basically at least once a year since.
Yeah. So, in case you don't know this, probably, how could you know it? Not only did Nicole go on her honeymoon to Disney World, she had Popeyes at her wedding reception, which I'd marry her. I'm telling you, that's pretty good. I can't think of anything better than that. So it's pretty good. What's your background with Disney? How did it start?
I started in the late 60s. My dad was stationed at March Air Force Base outside of Riverside, California.
Yeah.
And so the annual trip to Disneyland was a prerequisite, especially when family, grandmas and grandpas would come out. We'd be the tour guides to take them to Disneyland. So I grew up with the Wonderful World of Disney, the World of Color on TV. That just translated over to going to the parks.
Yeah.
And then as I grew older, kind of fell out of it for a while. But once family came into the picture, then we started going back again.
Funny you mentioned the World of Disney, because that 6 o'clock Sunday, the music would start, it would show the castle, and then whatever movie, Flubber or whatever would come on, but it was like a tradition. I think most families sit there and watch that show.
Yeah, you'd have the news, and then it would go into Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins and Jim Fowler, and then it would go into the Wonderful World of Disney. So it's been a tradition of my family since I've been young.
Yeah, Marlon's like, hey, Jim, just go grab that tiger. It'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, he was always in danger. Let's talk a little bit about a tip. Like if you were going to tell somebody when they're making that preparation, what's the most important part of the preparation for you guys?
I think probably knowing the time frames on everything, how far in advance you can book dining reservations, things like that, I think.
I would agree. You do, if you're staying on property, that's my big tip. I know there are cheaper alternatives off property, which means you're looking at hotels like the Wyndham, Marriott,
Yep.
over by Disney Springs. But if you have never stayed on property, you have free shuttle service, free bus service, monorail service, boat service to just about anywhere you want to go. It takes the rental car out of the play, even though you can't get shuttle services from the Good Neighbor hotels, but staying on property and going at certain times when there are deep discounts if you're a Disney Visa card holder really is a big advantage.
I was going to ask about that. Is there a best time for you guys to go during the year? When does it work best for you?
My family always goes pretty much during summer. My husband's a teacher.
Okay.
So our trips always align with school breaks. We've done a couple of spring break. We did one Christmas break and a couple of like long weekends, Labor Day, things like that. But for the most part, we go in the heat of the summer.
Big money difference if you want to avoid going in the heat of the summer?
Yeah, my wife and I typically take advantage of those times. With my role in the city, I usually go after Winter Wonderland. I always call it my working vacation. I tell Mayor Black and Amber Powers, our city administrator, I always go down to look for new ideas to bring back to the city.
Sure.
When we're doing our holidays and other events. But the one thing I've noticed too, and I really shouldn't say this because then people will start going, but I think we're starting to see a little bit lighter crowds at school breaks now. I've been online watching some live feeds from Disney World, and the crowds right now are fairly light. That usually was never the case. It was always a zoo down there, and Nicole can attest to that with school being out. But the other thing there's two things I will say. The military has a distinct advantage of going to Disney World. If you are a retired or active duty military, there is a resort down there called Shades of Green. It was originally the Disney Inn, which was the golfing hotel at Disney World. The Palm and Magnolia golf courses are right there with it. But Shades of Green is strictly for military, whether you're active duty or retired, and very, very, very affordable rooms and beautiful big rooms. Some of the biggest on property because it was one of the original hotels. Transport, it's right next to the Polynesian Resort. It is considered on property. Deep discounts on tickets can be had out at Offutt Air Force Base at the ticket window out there. If you are military, I've stayed there. I know Nicole stayed there. A great hotel for military families, and so I would hope the military would take advantage of that, and it's wonderful a wonderful gift to them for their service.
Yeah, it's another thing also, if you have any special need kids, you can also write to them too. Both my kids are hard of hearing. My oldest is deaf. They will make accommodations for you, also give you some discounts because of it as well. So they're very helpful. They try to help families as much as they can, even though it's going to be expensive no matter when you go. What about buying gift cards before? I know that's a tip that you hear a lot from people, buying the Disney gift cards before you go.
We have not done that. We have a Disney Rewards credit card.
Oh, yeah.
And then a Southwest credit card. So we treat them both kind of like debit.
Sure.
Pay them off and accumulate the rewards. So that's how we have usually saved money, is by cashing in those rewards. So typically we have at least one flight free. We have, either tickets or meals mostly covered with the Disney Rewards. So that's what we have done.
Have you ever used the?
We have. Our last trip we exclusively used gift cards because those of you who have been down or planning on going down, you get a little thing called a magic band that gets you into your hotel room, typically to the theme parks, but it also can be used to buy food, buy gifts. In many gift shops, you need to remember that this organization is very good at making money.
Yes.
And with that little band on your wrist, it's very easy to cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And a lot of people can get budget shock when they come back from the world.
Wow.
It's happened to me. I know it's happened to her. And so we tried it. We tried it with gift cards last time. It worked really well.
Yeah.
It kept us on a budget.
It does, yeah.
But like Nicole, we too have the Disney Reward Card, which accumulates points during the year, which garnered my wife a very nice Dooney and Burke bag the last time we were there. So there are plenty of ways to save money. There's a lot of publications out there, a lot of podcasts, and YouTube videos out there to help you save money, and research would help.
And if you want to do the Disney cards, if you buy them at a grocery store or a Target or something, then you get points back. Either gas off at a Hy-Vee or a Baker's, you can get points back at Target as well. So that's a good way to do it, to put it back in. The biggest difference between California and Florida for you guys?
California is a lot smaller. It's 2 parks instead of 4, so you don't need as much time in California.
Is there an age difference? Like I know California has a lot of the kids' movie stuff there. Is that a difference at all, age group wise?
I don't think
so.
I don't think so. I think Nicole's spot on. It's a smaller resort. It's what we consider Mecca. If you're ever a Disney fan and you want to visit Mecca, you go to Disneyland.
Sure.
They have the park that Walt built. But it's mainly just 2 parks, Disney California Adventure and then the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
And so if you are somebody maybe who's new to traveling to Disney or Disney World or Disneyland, it might be something to try Disneyland first. I think you could do 4 days at Disneyland easy and be ready to go home. Typically down at Disney World, we're there for 7 to 8 days.
Wow.
Yeah. It's an illness.
Let's talk about rides. You always talk about fast passes or lightning passes, that sort of thing. How do you guys handle that?
So the Lightning Lane is new, along with Genie Plus service, and we just used it for the first time in March. I don't know that you need it at all of the parks, but it is really helpful, particularly at Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom. But it does save you a lot of time standing in lines. Another thing is if you have really small kids who aren't tall enough for height restrictions on some of the rides, they will let you ride or switch. So the first parent or adult will stand in the line, and then the second one goes through the Lightning Lane to go through faster.
Oh, that's smart.
That somebody can stay back with your little kids.
Yeah, because that always is the worst when the parent doesn't get to go. You got to stay with the kids. How about you guys? Have you used that?
Yes, we have, and but we're of the age now to we're not power parkers anymore. We lounge around. We go where we want to go. We don't typically we're not chasing after kids like Nicole is. We have grandkids, so we let mom and dad handle them. But there are a lot of options out there to get you to your favorite attractions. The one perk that we haven't mentioned here is you stay on property. Sometimes you do have extra magic hours in the morning or in the evening to where if you're staying on property, the locals leave and then you have the run of the park. And I've been there at one time in the evening where it seemed like it was just my wife and I in the Magic Kingdom. It was amazing.
Wow.
But little things like that, like I said, with some research would really help the first timer.
Yeah, once those ragamuffins leave, you guys just take over.
Right.
Get those out of there. Let's talk about food and saving money with that.
My favorite topic.
I do love food as well. With some of the, one of the things that we like to go to when we were going to the one in California was you could go to that League of Nations or something where you'd go and you'd eat at all the different countries. That was at
that's at Epcot.
At Epcot. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the World Showcase.
Yeah, and that's cool because you get a choice. But how do you handle food?
We very much consider eating a big part of our
It is.
vacation, so
so you just put that in your budget.
Yep, that's one area we don't really skimp on. We find places we really want to go. But the portions are very large. You could easily split meals. We've had kids, especially splitting kids' meals and things like that because it's just really large portions. So it is expensive, but you really are getting what you pay for. But yeah, we kind of go all out on dining because that's just
part of the vacation
for us.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
Tony?
Yeah, the great thing about that too is that you can get on the Disney website and you can pull up every menu at every restaurant in every park, and it shows what's on fare, what's buffet. If you have pick prices too, picky eaters, you can certainly plan ahead on dining as well. In fact, as Nicole said earlier, typically on some of the more popular restaurants, you want to hit that 60-day advanced dining reservations.
Wow.
Some restaurants are extremely hard to get into at Disney World right now. Ohana at the Polynesian, always difficult. Be Our Guest over at the Magic Kingdom because of the Beauty and the Beast affiliation and the theming. Several others, very difficult to get into. But there are things for every every palate down there. Whether it's Italian, steaks, if you're a steak and potato guy like me, buffet, chicken fingers, always a staple for kids at Disney World. But there's fare for anybody down there.
You can do mobile orders when you're in the park too, right?
Yes.
Before you get to an area, you just order ahead.
Yep, some of the resorts have that as well at their quick service locations.
Last thing, give me your best park story, best trip story that you have with you and your family.
Well, so my husband and I are Disney Vacation Club members, which is like Disney's, I know, like Disney's timeshare program.
Okay.
So between that and rewards on cards and things like that, we have actually been able to pay for family members in certain circumstances to go with us. So we've been able to take my parents. We helped my oldest niece with food on the last trip. She's in college. And so we've been able to take big family trips, have several of our family members staying in, a larger room with us and things like that. So that's been really nice.
This is a lifestyle.
It
really is, right?
It's a problem.
Like I said, it's an illness.
It's incredible. What about for you guys?
It actually, it's a funny story. It actually happened on our first trip with all of our kids. We took all of our kids down, 2 granddaughters, and then, of course, 2 sets of parents, and my wife and I. On one of our days down there, our littlest one at the time, Olivia, got separated from the group, coming out of her breakfast over in the Animal Kingdom. And if you've ever experienced that panic, and I know all parents have, the one thing that you need to realize is that the kids don't get lost at the parks, the parents do. All the cast members down there are trained to help out lost children, to help out lost parents, I should say, and bring them back together and very successfully. That ended up being Olivia wandering off to see a music show that was going on about 150 feet away from us. But with the crowd levels, it can freak people out.
Sure.
But if it would ever happen, you get a hold of a cast member right away, and then they put the alert out and they help with that. I haven't heard of a kidnapping from Disney World. I haven't heard of a kid being lost and never being found.
Right.
So it occurs, but it's always seems to be a good result.
It's awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys for the tips and going over this for us. It's not only a lifestyle, you call it an addiction, an illness, or whatever, but it's something that the entire family, so grandma down to a 1-year-old can enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The 100-year anniversary of the Disney organization is actually this year. And if you go back and look at archival footage, which Nicole and I do a lot, that's what we do. That was one thing that Walt Disney wanted to do, was make sure that families can do this as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes, you have your thrill rides. Yes, you have your rides that make me want to puke, but you also have the rides you can go on with your grandkids, with your sons and daughters, and experience that with them. Don't be afraid to take your kids when they're little. We took our granddaughters when they were 3 and 4, and the colors they saw, the magic they saw, really was inspiring for me to see that, and their grandmother as well.
Yeah, my son, who's 17 right now, I took him on the Tower of Terror when he was 6.
That's right there.
He still talks about it.
Yep.
Not in a good way. Nicole, Tony, thanks. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Join us again next time when we speak with somebody again who helps make Papillion feel like home.